Now, we will have from the MSU Center for Regional Food System, Dr. Jahi Chappell, I hope I said your name right, and if I didn't, please correct me, who is the director, and Lindsey Scalera, Director of Policy and Leadership Education. When you're ready, please go ahead with your presentation. We appreciate you being here today.
So I'm Dr. M. Jahi Johnson-Chappell. I'm the Kellogg Foundation Endowed Chair for Food Society and Sustainability and the Director of the Michigan State University Center for Regional Food Systems. But for today's testimony, I'm going to be turning it over to Lindsey Scalera, who's the Center's Assistant Director for Policy and Director of Policy Leadership Education.
Thank you, Dr. Chappell, and thank you, Chair and members of the committee for having us today. As our director said, my name is Lindsey Scalera, and for over 20 years, the Center for Regional Food Systems has been working with people, organizations, and institutions to develop what we call regionally integrated food systems, so that local and regional food systems. Much of that work has been supporting institutional food procurement, regional food distribution, and supply chain development throughout the state. So today I want to talk about how tariffs are disrupting institutional food procurement.
I'm really sorry.
Oh, yes.
We had a problem with the agenda, and yes, we have Senator Polhanke back. We need to quick take a vote.
Oh, I don't have to leave it.
I know, but Senator Singh does. So we need to interrupt you for a quick moment. You can stay right there.
Yep.
We are going to vote on a bill that is about trespassing on people's land. And so we'll just do that real quick, and then we'll keep going. I appreciate your patience. You guys are awesome. I will entertain a motion to report House Bill 4013 to the floor with the recommendation that the bill pass. So moved by Senator Singh. Will the clerk please call the question?
Chair Schenk?
Yes.
Senator Cherry?
Yes.
Senator Singh?
Yes.
Senator Polhanke?
Yes.
Senator Daly, Senator Victory, Senator Ortega. Madam Chair, there are 4 yeas, 0 nays. The bill is reported.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go back.
Thank you so much. So today I want to talk about how tariffs are disrupting institutional food procurement, making local and regional food procurement a little bit more difficult for those who are committed to supporting our local food economy. But I'll also highlight a few ways that Michigan is poised to address those challenges thanks to some of the longstanding partnerships and key investments especially that Dr. Boring talked about earlier. So before we get started, I do want to, we kind of talk about this in terms of a regional food value chains. So I do want to just define that for a moment. So the USDA AMS kind of describes this as these trusting alliances between or among supply chain partners. And they recognize the importance of our interdependence and collaboration as we work to, provide food to our communities. So kind of in that vein, every day I get to work with folks across the state who are advancing this concept of good food. Our shared vision is captured in the Michigan Good Food Charter, which was updated in 2022. And that is a roadmap of strategies developed by contributions from over 150 organizations and about 500 people that we could count across the state to build a food system that ensures food's accessible to everyone, promoting healthy communities, using fair and sustainable production methods, and supports a diverse and equitable society. In practice, and I'll kind of leave it on here, this looks like robust regional food production and distribution through food hubs, produce and meat processors, and partnerships with family farms of all sizes. It looks like community voices encouraging positive changes at the local, state, and national levels through organizations like food policy councils and other similar efforts. It looks like strong supports in place to help develop those farm and food businesses. Our state is uniquely positioned to grow as a specialty crop state and with such diverse agriculture. And it also looks like institutions like hospitals and universities and schools who are anchors in their communities, committing to using their spending power to keep dollars in the state and region and improve health. So rising tariffs, as we've heard, kind of cause a cascade effect throughout the food system. So we're seeing increases in the cost of ingredients, packaging, equipment, and logistics. And all of those kind of undermine the affordability for families, farmers, food processors, and institutions alike. So it's very similar what others are seeing at the institutional level. And they are feeling this on the ground. So to paint a picture of what that looks like, so hospitals are navigating providing quality nutrition for vulnerable folks while they're also committed to improving public health in their communities. K-12 and early childhood food service are operating on razor-thin margins while serving meals that meet, strict nutritional standards. And I will point out that the School Nutrition Association, through a national survey of meal program directors, found that virtually all of those folks are citing challenges with food costs, labor, and equipment as increased pressure. And the federal reimbursement programs do help, but they are broadly considered to be insufficient to meet rising costs, those reimbursement rates. So with already tight budgets, price hikes coming from tariffs in these especially staple goods can result in trade-offs, such as offering fewer fresh options and cutting staff. And we in Michigan have done a lot of work to build up those fresh offerings, offering fresh, healthy local food through our institutions. Another kind of impact of this, kind of the other side of this, so rising costs can drive institutions to be looking more for domestic and local alternatives, which is great. And there's been a lot of work to try to move our food system to be able to meet that demand. But a couple challenges that are important to note is that domestic food producers are not exempt from these rising input costs. As was mentioned earlier, shifting these strategies to accommodate both on the producer side and the purchaser side, there's a lot that goes into sourcing food, especially in institutional food purchasing. That costs time and money to make those changes. And especially for some of the smaller agri-food businesses, we worry about them being able to keep up. And then in Michigan, our local and regional food distribution and transportation is still a really big challenge. And there's lots of folks working on that and working on place-based and systemic solutions, but definitely more support is needed and working to understand that challenge better. So all of that said, I do want to point out some of these key investments and partnerships that have been improving our local and regional food value chains in Michigan and kind of points out the opportunity. So we hear from other states all the time that folks look to us in Michigan as an inspiration. And so we've been kind of over the past 10 years or so, at least from my view, as long as I've been working in it, are kind of proving that local and regional food systems can work. And the way I explain that to folks when they ask, how are you doing it, is that there's kind of a puzzle piece effect. We've got critical state agency support, so MDARD, Department of Education, Health and Human Services, and even EGLE, kind of making these targeted investments and providing different technical assistance and supports aligned with this ecosystem of partnerships and organizations throughout the state at local and statewide levels, all kind of linking through that Michigan Good Food Charter. It's led to, in the case of Farms Institution, more institutions working to increase the value of agriculture, of local and regional agriculture, through that purchasing power. So more commitments to purchasing local. And a few examples, and although funding for some of these programs has fluctuated recently, these efforts have been proving to be bridges between institutions and growers. So 10 cents a meal has been providing matching grants to help schools and early childhood sites purchase more local food. The unfortunately now terminated Local Food for Schools program had about 500 farmers, mid-scale and small farmers, geared up to start or increase their purchasing relationships with schools. We do still have the Healthy School Meals for All program, and one of the visions and promise of that program is when that's paired with some of these local purchasing incentives and commitments, that we can keep more local food dollars in our state and our farm economy. And then, as was mentioned earlier, the Farm to Family program, where that's really aiming to strengthen these market opportunities for local and regional agri-food businesses. So just in conclusion, the tariffs are kind of squeezing us from both sides of the plate. Institutions need to be able to afford the food, but farmers also need to be able to make a profit and rely on distribution and processing capacity that we are still growing at the local and regional level. And I think just to kind of close it out, this farm to institution value chain that we've been building over the past, more than 10 years really, it kind of opens our doors for growers and communities to provide avenues for healthy eating, and really contributes to that local and regional food economy in Michigan. So I think that's it. And I will, if you have any questions for me, I'll open the door.
Thank you. Colleagues, any questions? I know when I've visited some of the local food banks, they are saying that they aren't able to provide as much meat, and they are suffering from cuts in their budgets because of federal cuts, and I'm wondering, the cost of meat rising, that's part of the tariffs too?
I wouldn't be able to speak super clearly about that, but I have heard that, and I do think we could get back to you with some data about that. I know that meat processing capacity in Michigan is something that is of interest.
Yeah, that's definitely something I've been working on too. Okay, thank you very much for taking the time and also for being patient with us going back and forth a little bit. We also have a lot of committees going on today, so it makes it a little bit that way.
Understand. Thank you so much.
you.
Appreciate it.